On the trip, a blond man recognized Poirot and bragged about his mysterious town destination, while Poirot showed a newspaper with a "you'll never guess" look. He wanted to know what was up there because knowing yourself and your enemy wins battles, and this blonde dude was all in, saying there's a quirky old lady in town who might have the scoop. Upon the train's arrival in the town, Poirot first sought his friend, who'd just seen a child in distress and looked miserable. Even though he was down for the count due to the shock, he still gave Poirot the detailed scoop on the case, but the investigation hit two major snags. 1. Someone at the party was poisoned. 2. The scene was in chaos. Except for the lethal apple water ball, all other clues vanished. He even tried to pin the blame on a wandering homeless guy, while Poirot internally rolled his eyes in despair. Poirot was fuming inside, but on the outside, he maintained the cool demeanor of a professional detective, his reasoning sharp and powerful. If the girl lied, a murder shouldn't have happened on Halloween. She had seen something she shouldn't have. And the killer must have wanted to ensure the truth stayed buried, so they went for the kill. Poirot was certain the killer was at last night's party, but his reasoning did not win the sheriff's approval. Seeing the police's dismissive attitude, Poirot decided to return to the crime scene himself in search of neglected clues. He was determined to seek justice for the voiceless little girl, only to bump into an acquaintance. The police's mail was the gardener from Mary's house, who just nodded. No one noticed the way the man looked at Poirot, his gaze filled with a mix of wistfulness. Subtitles. Soon afterwards, Poirot came across the girl's family, yet neither the mother nor the brother appeared to be the least bit upset about the sister's passing. Didn't even doubt the police's explanation, obviously convinced that the family couldn't possibly be the killer. Noticing no progress, Poirot recalled the old lady the blonde mentioned she was there. Poirot suddenly realized that the seemingly mundane little town was actually riddled with danger, and the old lady had become a living zombie. But she recalled 3 bizarre deaths that had occurred nearby in recent years. If the little girl saw something, it surely had to be one of those. First, Mary's aunt had a heart condition, but unexpectedly passed away soon after the new nanny started working. There were rumors in town that the nanny poisoned the employer out of suspicion. Next, a lawyer in town was taken out in the dead of night, and to this day, nobody knows who the killer is. Ironically, that lawyer had once lived at Mary's home, and lastly, there was a bizarre death of a female teacher. Found dead in a glen, she reportedly drank before dying, leading police to call it an accident. However, her student was the murdered girl. Poirot keenly noticed that these 3 seemingly unrelated death cases had intricate ties. She believed that if the old lady's and the teacher's deaths could be reasonably classified as accidents, then the only murder the little girl could have witnessed was the lawyer's death at night. Armed with this lead, Poirot located the law firm, and the boss told her. The victim was very hospitable to clients, yet lazy, and peeked at others' files, perhaps causing her tragedy. Poirot's intuition told her it wasn't that simple, so she cleverly steered the conversation toward Mary's house. Noticing the old lawyer was elderly and had many endings, she thought it might yield a surprising twist. Sure enough, it turned out that the heir on Mary's aunts wasn't family, but rather the newly appointed nanny. However, the police quickly discovered that the will was forged, and after the death, the nanny vanished, leaving behind whispers of greed and betrayal. By this point, Poirot had gathered quite a bit of information, but these fragmented tales were still not enough to piece together the full truth. She needed more details to connect these apparently independent events and to clarify their causal relationships. Hence, Poirot went to the town church, and according to Mrs. Wang, the teacher had close ties with the musicians there. This may offer a new angle on the case, but after Mass, something on a boy's wrist caught her eye. Clearly, such an expensive item wouldn't typically belong to a kid, but he claimed he bought it with his own money. After that, he expressed disbelief over Poirot's unwavering conviction that the sister had been murdered. In their eyes, the girl was just a lying nuisance who was everywhere. They thought it would be better to stroll around town, and while Poirot had gleaned the relationship between the siblings, he didn't press further. So, she turned to the priest at the church to inquire about the girl, only to receive the same answer as others. Everyone thought this little girl loved to exaggerate and lie, even willing to turn others' tales into her own. So, her reputation in town was not great, and Poirot clearly gained no valuable leads from the priest. But she noticed a musician in the distance, yet he insisted that the teacher's death was an accident. Poirot hadn't even had a chance to probe further when the woman hurriedly turned and walked away, clearly reluctant to dwell on the subject. There was definitely a connection between the girl's death and the other 3 cases in town, but everyone seemed keen to dodge the truth. They all banded together with a unified story to cover up the facts. just when Poirot was on the verge of hitting a brick wall in her investigation. Oliver woke up startled from his sleep, suddenly recalling the key scene from the night of the incident, which might very well relate to the girl's death. Shortly after Joyce was discovered, she might have seen something she shouldn't have. Upon learning this, Poirot, breaking from her usual style, rushed back to the mansion to find Mary. Used to being polite and gradual, this time she cut straight to the chase and asked Mary what she saw the night of the incident. However, Mary insisted she saw nothing and hinted that Oliver might have misinterpreted what he witnessed. As the girl's own aunt, how could she possibly be a murderer? Poirot silently observed her reaction, feeling the trail had gone cold, but she refused to give up easily. She knew very well that if the truth were that easy to uncover, it'd be dreadfully boring. Poirot still had a new direction to pursue, looking for that forged will. But considering the sheriff's negative attitude towards the case, she thought it wise to find some backup. Just as Poirot pondered her next move, someone suddenly called out to her from behind. It turned out to be the victim's friend Sarah, who insisted on helping Poirot with the investigation. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories ahead.